Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Terry with College Football Stop, bringing you another show today. Man, I haven't been able to get, um, I haven't had time to get into any shows this week, which is unfortunate because it's the biggest week of the year, biggest game of the year. But my kid was home from school sick on Tuesday, and then obviously Wednesday, or not obviously, but Wednesday the kids started their break for Thanksgiving, so it's been a little hard for me to get time to do it. I wanted to hop on late, and I talked myself out of it, honestly, but I figured, hell with it. Let's go ahead and hop on, do a late show. Games tomorrow in about, well, right now it's 11 Eastern time, so games in like 13 hours. I'm super excited for this game, man. I can't wait to get, or just to see what's going to happen. I think it's going to be one for the ages. I think that um, a million people have predicted what's going to happen, and I guarantee you that there's going to be some unpredictable shit that happens tomorrow. I'm just excited for it, man. I can't wait. I do, I think Ohio State's got what it takes to go in there and get the win, get the history back on their side. So I want to get into that. I do want to talk about who I think the most important players are for the game tomorrow for Ohio State. And then I want to get into my final score prediction and just some other talks about the game, kind of what I'm hearing, what I've been seeing around Twitter and from the people that I talk to about football. So let's go ahead and get into it now. I'm just going to start off with the topic of the players. Like I said, the most important players. I'm going to do two on offense and two on defense. Um, I'm just so excited for this game. It's crazy, man. And I know so many people are. I sat in a Twitter space earlier, just kind of talking it up with my buddies about this game constantly over and over again. Had some Michigan fans come in, and I mean, I think everybody is nervous about this game. I think Ohio State fans are nervous, even if they don't want to admit it. And I think the so are Michigan fans because they don't know. Michigan fans don't know if this is going to look the same as it has in the past without Connor Stallions on the sideline. And then obviously they don't have Jim Harbaugh too, so that makes things a little complicated for them. But getting back to what I was saying, the most important players, I'm going to start on offense. So I think the first one's going to be obvious. The first one is going to be Travion Henderson. In my opinion, he's the most important player on this team overall. If I had to pick one, just one and go with it. However, I think that Travion Henderson has the ability to be the reason why Ohio State wins this game, and the reason why Ohio State could ultimately go on and win a national championship. Um, Basically, you need those guys who are like alpha mentality, who are just the best player on the field at whatever position they're at. And Travion Henderson is that guy. I think right now he's arguably the best running back in college football the way he's playing. And a lot of people will say different because of his stats, but if you watch the games and you watch how the games play out, the type of offense that the team runs, Travion Henderson is just as good, if not better, than anybody in the country. And I think he's honestly probably going to end up being like the first running back off the board, maybe second at the latest, at least, excuse me. But Travion Henderson needs to catch the ball out of the backfield. He needs to make his lineman right, which he's been doing a great job of, where, the blocking may not be perfect, but he'll go out there and make a play, set up a block. Even though the block is not perfect, he'll still get past the defender. And honestly, in the plays where Trey scored long touchdowns this year, he's done that to at least one defender in the play, where the block is not perfect, but Trey makes them right, and that's what we need from him. I just need him to keep doing that. I need him to bring the energy and the juice because sometimes I feel like this team doesn't have that. So um, that's my number one, and then my number two on offense. Let me see. I didn't write this show up. Like I said, I just wanted to go ahead and go live for a little bit and talk about what's on my mind with this game because I haven't had time for like the last 3 days, man. It's been killer. Honestly, I just couldn't wait to get back on here and record and just talk about this game. But anyway, my number two, I'm gonna go with. Let's see here. I'm gonna go with Kyle McCord. Um, I think that Kyle has arm talent, and I think I've always said that. I think that Kyle is a talented kid. Um, for whatever reason, it seems like he can't do the same thing twice, and that's just kind of how he's been all year, where he's up and down. He'll seemingly like read a defense perfectly one time and then not the second time. Um, I need Ryan Day and Kyle to work together this week and get this right. and Kyle plays his best game, Ohio State wins this game easily. And I'm going to use that to just flip us over to the defensive side of the ball, because the reason why I think if Kyle McCord does what he's supposed to do and Travion Henderson kind of puts the team on his back, I think that Ohio State will win. I don't really think that this defense is going to give up many points. I've been on record this entire time saying that I think no team in the regular season will score 17 points on Ohio State. And honestly, I'll go even into the Big Ten championship. It would be Iowa. Iowa's not going to score 17 points on Ohio State if they play them, if they beat Michigan. So this is kind of the last chance for it. And honestly, I think that Ohio State can hold this Michigan team to below 17 points. Um, it's a low number, but at the same time, like, it's going to be a grinded out game. Ohio State already has an offense this year where they um, they like to run some of the clock out. They're not like super fast offense, and I think they're probably even going to be a little bit slower in this game because of the whole sign stealing accusations and all that. Whatever Ryan Day is implementing to fix that issue, I think that it's going to kind of slow the game down a little bit. But getting into the actual players that I think will have a huge impact, which will cause, like I said, 17 points, man. It's a low number, but they can do it. So the number one player I'm going to go with is a guy who I feel like people haven't been talking about enough recently, because Michigan's offensive tackles have kind of shown that they have issues with pass coverage over the last few weeks, or pass protection, I should say. But I think that the biggest impact is actually going to come from the interior. I know that Michigan has a good interior offensive line, but I don't think that a good interior offensive line is going to stop Tyleik Williams from doing what Tyleik Williams does. So he's my number one player on defense that I think is going to wreck this game and is going to cause a lot of problems for Michigan, cause some negative plays, some good stuff like that. And hopefully he'll get a couple pass breakups. That's like one of my favorite things, is when a quarterback thinks he's got a guy running on like a slant and he goes to throw it and Tyleik puts that big paw up there and knocks it down and does his famous celebration, which I think is like a no-no or like a two fingers, something like that. But hey, whatever. I like it. He's a big boy, and he's out there putting that work in. Uh, One of my favorite players on this team, honestly, and I think that you need guys like that. If you look at Georgia, they won the last two national championships. One of the things that they had was a good, really big dude right in the middle that was kind of taking care of business and holding down the middle of the defensive line. So Tyleik Williams is going to be my first defensive player of the game, or player that I think needs to have a big game for Ohio State. And then my second one, I'm actually going to go a little bit out of the box here. I feel like no one's really talked about him um, for the past week or so because of this Michigan game and everyone expecting them to run the ball. I'm going to go with Davison Igbinosun. Davison Igbinosun has been phenomenal in the run game all year. So why would it be any different in this Michigan game? I mean, you look at if you did watch Michigan play over the last few weeks, their run game has honestly not been that big of a threat. And when the run game did start picking up and did make some big plays, it would be when the play was designed to go up the middle, and then either one of their running backs, Blake Corum or Donovan Edwards, would bounce it out to the outside and then kind of get the edge. I'm looking for a guy like Davison Igbinosun to play off coverage like he normally does. And if he sees a run play, he'll fit up on the edge. And if they bounce it to the outside, they're going to get taken down. So I think Iggy's going to have a lot of tackles in this game. I think he's going to come up clutch on like some third down plays where they try to run the ball. They try to bounce it out, and Iggy's there and kind of pops him and puts him down to the ground. So those are my players of the game for this game. I'm going to give one guy a shout out in this too, though. Another guy who I think is due for a really, really big game. He hasn't had one in a while. Is JT Tuimoloau. I don't know if he's dealing with like an injury or something. I've kind of heard that from some people. But I think that JTT is due for a huge game. And I think he's kind of that big game player, right? He's that guy who does the right thing throughout the year. He's probably going to be a first-round draft pick because of that, because he's a great athlete. He's perfect size to be an NFL defensive end. He's good at run stopping, and he just is kind of one of those guys that does the right thing. But you'll notice occasionally with JT Tuimoloau is he will have some freakish plays where he'll go off in a game and be in the backfield the entire game. And I think that could be one of those games for him. I could really see that happening. It'll be his um, his last game at Ohio State, or if they lose, probably, because I'm assuming he would sit out the bowl game. So I'm looking to see these guys put it all on the line. I'm gonna go out here and just make this the best game that you've ever played throughout your entire football career. Make this one the best game you've ever played, and you will win because Ohio State is a better football team than Michigan. All right, so that was it for like the key players in the game for me. I want to look at like some key matchups and basically just Ohio State's offense versus Michigan's defense, and then Michigan's offense versus Ohio State's defense, and kind of how I'm expecting it to play out. And then we'll get into my final score prediction, and we'll wrap this thing up. It's not going to be a long show. It's tough for me to do these at night like this because my wife and kids are sleeping. But like I said, this week I've haven't been able to get live like I wanted to, and I explained in the beginning of the show here, if you're just watching or if you're just tuning in, that my kid was sick from school on Tuesday, and then their break started on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I just really wanted to get some content in because this is the biggest game of the year, man. I'm so excited for it, and I just wanted to talk about it with you guys. But it's been hard because I do have a son who has special needs, and he's got autism. He's a sweet boy, 5 years old, about to be 6. But he is very, very, very attached to me. So typically when I'm live on here, he's at school, and he has his class that he goes to with his teacher who looks out for him real well and stuff. But if he's not there, then he's typically with me. So that's where it makes it hard for me to kind of go live. If he, what's up, man? Sorry about that. I was reading the chat as I was talking, but anyway, it makes it a little hard for me to go live if he's around because he doesn't necessarily want to leave me. He wants to be around me all the time. And I let him be because, I don't know. I love that boy. So, but anyway, let's get back into it here. Like I said, I wanted to talk about some of the key matchups, which again, just Ohio State's defense versus Michigan's offense. Actually, Michigan's offense versus Ohio State's defense is where I want to start out here. I do see we have someone in the chat. So I love your channel. Hey, man, thanks for coming, Sonny. I appreciate it. I appreciate that, man. I love hearing that from you guys. I just trying my best here. I'm still learning, honestly. It's a very new channel, and I'm just learning how to do a podcast, how to do a show, and talking about something that I love. So, and anyway, let's move on from that. So the first matchup I was talking about, like I said, was Michigan's offense. Let me slow down a little bit. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Michigan's offense versus Ohio State's defense. So I already said in the beginning that I think that I expect them to score under 17 points. The way that I see this playing out is I think that Michigan is going to try to run the ball a ton. Now, in these games, they typically pull out like some trick plays. They like to take risk and throw the ball downfield, and I'm fine with that. I think they will try to do some of that, but I don't think that's going to be successful for them because, excuse me, I don't think that Michigan has the wide receivers to really threaten this Ohio State secondary down the field. And honestly, I really think that our defensive line, if they're put in situations where it's like a strictly or almost guaranteed pass rush situation, our defensive line is going to win against Michigan's offensive line, at least some of the time. It's not going to be every time, but when they do, it's going to be catastrophic for Michigan. And that's where I can see Ohio State coming up with like a turnover or two in this game where J.J. McCarthy is trying to make a play, and just he hasn't seen the caliber of athletes that Ohio State has in the secondary yet. And we've seen him make mistakes versus teams like Bowling Green, teams like Maryland, where some of those, some of the passes he threw that didn't get intercepted were like right in defenders' hands. Honestly, I think this Ohio State defense is opportunistic, and they will turn over those balls if he does throw them. And if he's gonna drop back and throw the ball, J.J. McCarthy hasn't showed me anything at all in his entire career at Michigan that states that if you're gonna ask him to throw the ball more than like 20 times in a game, that he won't throw an interception. So I think that he'll have to, because the other part of this is obviously Michigan's run game, and I'm not on the belief that Ohio State's going to completely shut down Michigan's run game. I just think that they're going to be opportunistic. That's what they've been all year. Michigan will get the ball at the 25-yard line. They'll run it. They'll kind of eat some clock up. They'll get down the field a little bit. But then there'll be that one time where they hand it off to Blake Corum and Mike Hall or Tyleek Williams kicks their guard's ass and hits him in the backfield for a 2-yard loss. At that point, Jim Knowles has been really good at kind of changing up his strategy. Once they get a stop for like a 1-yard gain or no gain, whatever. Basically, you just get a play where it's not a positive play for the offense. That's when Jim Knowles really starts to dial things up, and he's like, okay, now let's send a blitz. Now let's make a play. Now let's make sure that right now this is the set of downs that we stop them on. And I don't think that Michigan is going to be able to execute at a high enough level consistently where Ohio State's not going to be able to do that, because they're going to have to execute on the plays where Jim Knowles is kind of giving up some yards, but then they're also going to have to execute on those plays where Jim Knowles decides that he wants to dial it up, he wants to tighten the defense up. And honestly, I think that he's been killer with that this year. Like, they've been giving up some yards, but as soon as you get one play that doesn't go in the offense's way, it's like, okay, now it's time for you to get your ass off the field now. And that's just how Jim Knowles has been. So I'm loving that. I think that's how this game is going to play out. There's going to be, Blake Corum will probably get 25, 30 carries, whatever, and he may end up having like 100 yards, which is fine and dandy. They just really need to make sure that they don't let anything break out for like a 30, 40-yard gain, especially with Donovan Edwards, because he's shown last year that he can take something to the house. Now, I think that Ohio State has better athletes and kind of has like a top on their defense this year where stuff like that's not going to happen. But we'll see how that plays out. He just needs to, Jim Knowles just needs to continue being aggressive at the right moments like he has been this entire year. It wasn't just a ton of aggression all throughout the entire game. It's honestly, it's perfectly timed aggression. And I think Jim Knowles is one of the best in the game at doing that. So I think Ohio State's defense will hold their own against Michigan's offense. And they may give up some stuff, especially if like some good field position or something like that happens. That's fine. It happens. You don't have to hold a team to 0 points to win. But I don't think they give up more than 17. And I'll give my actual number once we get into my final score prediction, which will be after we talk about the Ohio State offense versus the Michigan defense. So this is an interesting matchup to me. I think that Michigan has a really good defense. This is where Ohio State fans like myself typically end up losing Michigan fans, because I'm the type of person who believes that the cheating that Michigan was doing had a huge impact on games that they played. I also believe that Michigan leveled up their team by getting rid of Don Brown, getting McDonald. I forget his first name right now, but anyway, and then moving on to Jesse Minter. Obviously, Harbaugh got his brother. His brother helped him get his DCs, and they're really good DCs, especially for a team like Ohio State, because these are NFL guys. Jesse Minter coached in the NFL before. McDonald, I wish I could remember. Is it Tom? Not Tom. Anyway, I wish I could remember his first name, but I can't. Whatever. We'll just move on from that. But those guys are guys who've coached in the NFL before. And honestly, Ryan Day's offense typically is an NFL-style offense, but it's not this year, though. And it's not this year because of the quarterback. We talked about Kyle McCord. Right now, Kyle McCord is not an NFL quarterback. I think everybody knows that, and Ryan Day knows that. So Ryan Day's offense is not an NFL-style offense. But I think that that's going to benefit Ohio State, especially in this game. I think they could get into some trouble if they make it into the playoffs and have to play a team like Alabama or Georgia, because those defenses are built to stop college-style offenses. But in this game, that's not how it is. And I think that Ohio State's going to be able to lean on the run game, because Michigan is going to still have to respect the pass. Kyle McCord hasn't been great, but he can hit an open receiver. And Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka and Julian Fleming, Carnell Tate, Cade Stover, those guys can get open. Ryan Day will scheme them open too. So I think that Michigan's going to have to kind of sit back. And the way that they've been playing Ohio State the last few years, outside of like the cheating, so maybe some of this was not necessarily Michigan doing the right thing or Michigan deciding this is how we're going to play them. Maybe some of it was, okay, this is the play we're doing, let's get in this, and Ryan Day was just pass happy. I don't know. But anyway, they've been kind of playing them where they're having two safeties back. And I mean, they're obviously mixing up their coverages and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna get into like exact coverages. I don't claim to know all of them and know exactly what each player is supposed to do, but I know that they've been keeping safeties back to help over top. And the difference between the last few years and this year is that I think that we have Travion Henderson healthy, and he's not young like he was his freshman year. I think that Ryan Day will lean on Travion Henderson, and he will allow him to beat Michigan. If they want to sit back and play that, two safeties, two high safeties, Ryan Day will run the ball, and Travion Henderson will go crazy in this game. And I mean, honestly, like if you're gonna sit in that style defense all game, Trey could go for 200 yards. I'm not saying he will, but he can. He's that good. And this offensive line with the new things that they're doing schematically is dangerous. I don't care what anybody says. You can hate on this offensive line if you want, but right now the scheme that they're using, the way that they're mixing things up, the way that they're causing misdirection with doing like the wide receiver end arounds, this offense is dangerous. This offense is dangerous to put up 35 to 40 points on anybody, especially if their defense is playing well and they're being aggressive the entire game. Because we've seen the last few games where the offense has really picked it up, but it's only been for one half because they were blowout games. Obviously, Michigan's defense is really good. I'm not going to predict that Ohio State's going to score 40 or anything like that, but I mean, I do think that this offense will be able to get off on Michigan. And honestly, I think that this is kind of a Ryan Day get back game. If he's as good as I think that he is, which nothing Ryan Day has done has told me that he wasn't, but if he's as good as I think that he is as a coordinator and a play caller, I think that you're going to have some guys running open, and I think that Kyle McCord is going to get his yards. Kyle McCord is going to get some plays off, and a couple of passing touchdowns, because Ryan Day is going to scheme the hell out of Michigan, and that's kind of where I've been this entire time. They have to show me that it won't happen before I will say that it won't happen, just because Michigan, like I said, they've been cheating the last few years, and you can have your opinion on whether you think it made a big impact on the game or not. But I have my opinion, and I think that it did make a big impact. I think that a huge part of what Ryan Day does as a play caller is running 2 or 3 plays to set up another play. And that's something that you can't do if they know what play you're running. You cannot set up a play. You can't set up a play for the third or fourth quarter with 2 different plays off of that same formation if they know exactly when that play is coming. So again, I just think that people are looking to downplay the situation as much as possible, but everybody has their own agenda, whatever, push your own agenda. I get it, but we're going to find out tomorrow, and I'm super excited about it. I mean, like I said, this is the most awaited, the most excited football game that has been in my lifetime, honestly. I know the 2006 Ohio State versus Michigan game was one of those games that everyone was super excited about. It was the 1 versus 2 game. And honestly, I don't remember it too much. I was young then. But at the same time, I think this one's right up there with any of them. I think it has to be. I don't see how it couldn't be, because you have the cheating stuff, 2 versus 3, winner goes to the playoffs, loser goes home. If Michigan were to lose, I mean, is this the axe? Is this the final? I don't know. Like, you ever see those videos from cartoons where there's a rope and it starts to break and then it's just holding by one thread? Is this the final thread that just goes snip and just sends that program over the edge of the cliff? I mean, I think that it could be, because and this is going to be a little prediction for you guys, which I haven't put out there. I did in my space earlier, but I don't even think anybody heard me. Everybody was talking. But I'm predicting that if Ohio State wins this game, Jim Harbaugh will be fired, released, resign, whatever. However you want to say it. The university is going to tell him, look, we're cutting ties. And I think that that's going to happen before the bowl game. That's where I'm at. That's my prediction. Michigan loses. They don't go to the playoffs. And Jim Harbaugh is not the coach at Michigan by the time the bowl game rolls around. I think that once Michigan loses a game and they're no longer in playoff contention, at that point the university is going to go into save our own ass mode. And they're going to be like, we have to save face now after we did all this hoo-ha and about this situation. And that's just my prediction. I mean, that's kind of a bold, kind of crazy one, because I don't think anybody else will predict that, but that's where I'm at with it. Um, all right, so I think in terms of the offense, I know I kind of bouncing back and forth a little bit, but in terms of Ohio State's offense, I said in the beginning that the players that I thought were the most important was Travion Henderson and Kyle McCord. Someone else who I do want to talk about though is Cade Stover. So Cade Stover is a mismatch nightmare, and honestly, Cade Stover lost weight from last year, and it seems like he's gotten better and stronger with his hands in terms of catching the ball. So last year, I shouldn't say everyone, most people gave Cade Stover a hard time because he played his worst game as a Buckeye in the Michigan game, and it's just unfortunate that that happened. I hate that that happened to him because I think he was a really solid player last year, but I think that now he's even better. I think he's like new and improved Cade Stover, who's like tight end 2 in the draft, and I think that Cade Stover is going to end up having a big impact on this game because Kyle McCord is really big on checking the ball down, checking the ball down, checking the ball down. And you know what? I don't care if that's what he's going to do. Like if we got to beat Michigan by playing defense, letting Kyle McCord check the ball down, take a couple shots, and Travion Henderson beat them, that's fine. I don't really give a fuck how we beat them as long as we beat them. And I think that we will because I don't think that there's anything that they're going to be able to do that's going to stop Ryan Day and this Ohio State offense from scoring at least 24 points. And I don't think Michigan can score 24 points on Ohio State. That's just where I'm at with it. So I'm going to move on to my final score prediction. And then I'm going to wrap the show up here. I didn't want to do too long of a show. Like I said, my wife and kids are sleeping. I got a couple things to do around the house before I take my own self to bed and then wake up super excited tomorrow for this game. So my final score prediction for this game is going to be Ohio State 31. No. Let me bring that down a little bit. I'm getting a little overzealous. It's late. I'm getting overzealous. All right. Anyway, I'm going to go Ohio State 28, Michigan 13. Ohio State 28, Michigan 13. That's where I'm at. I think the Connor Stallions situation had a huge impact on the way that the games played out the last 2 years. I think that this game is going to be close for the first half. Excuse me. Anyway, I think this game is going to be close for the first half and probably low scoring, something along the lines of like 7-3, 14-6, something like that. And then the game is going to finish out Ohio State 28, Michigan 13. Ohio State takes the Big Ten back. Michigan ain't ever getting that shit back because Ohio State's the better team. They've always been the better team, and Michigan had to cheat to beat them. Ohio State wins the Big Ten and goes to the playoffs as the number 1 seed in the playoffs. That's another prediction for you guys. And that's it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here. Thanks for watching, guys. Obviously, hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you enjoy the content, come back for more. I'm typically live daily around 10 a.m., at least on the weekdays. Unless my kids don't have school. Like I said, I explained that situation. But I'm going to try to make sure I get content out. If it's not like 10 a.m., then I kind of enjoy doing this at night like this. So maybe I'll start doing some more live shows at night too, because I want to keep the content going, and I'm hoping Ohio State wins so we can just do shows every single day all the way until the Big Ten championship, and then we can keep doing shows every single day all the way until the playoffs and all the way to the Natty because Ohio State's winning that shit this year. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Peace out. You guys have a great night. Get some rest. Get up early tomorrow. And let's go out there and kick Michigan's ass. Good night, y'all.